General Motors cruising to a new all-time high today, the stock gaining nearly 10% as one tech titan makes a big investment in its driverless car unit. Phil LeBeau's got the details. Phil.
Hey, Melissa, fourth best day ever for General Motors, and we can't emphasize this enough. This stock, and I know people will say, look, it's not really its all-time high. It's just since it came out of bankruptcy. But yes, this is the highest since it came out of bankruptcy, the government-mandated bankruptcy happening back in 2009. GM and Microsoft partnering on autonomous vehicles, and both GM and Microsoft combining for an investment in Cruise, which is the GM subsidiary, which is developing autonomous vehicles. They're in there along with Honda, other institutional investors, $2 billion, a little over that for the fundraising round. The valuation for Cruise is now $30 billion, and Microsoft will be working with Cruise, bringing its software, cloud computing technology for autonomous vehicles, which is crucial as they develop this autonomous vehicle network.
We look at the self-driving space and what we're doing at Cruise, this is going to be the largest deployment of mission-critical AI out into the real world. So it's a very natural partnership to have Microsoft and Cruise come together, given those complementary capabilities and opportunities.
We're still a ways out from, and I'm thinking maybe a couple of years before we actually see the public in these Cruise autonomous vehicles, though they are being tested out in real-world traffic in San Francisco. This chart is something that people will sit there and look at and say, oh, come on, you can't be serious. 1 month, and I know it's just 1 month, but in the last month, what's the best performing auto stock? General Motors, better than Tesla, better than Ford, Stellantis, better than Toyota. None of them have had a better month than GM in the last month. And one last thing, as long as we're talking about autonomous vehicle companies and valuations, the ones that people really focus on, we're talking about Waymo, Cruise, and Argo AI. These are the latest either publicly confirmed valuations from the companies, in the case of Cruise and Argo AI, or one of the latest estimates in the case of Waymo, though I should point out many people believe Waymo's valuation is likely much higher than that, though the company, Waymo itself, is not giving a valuation at this point, Melissa.
Phil, thank you. Phil LeBeau, we've been talking about this re-rating of General Motors for, I feel like, months at this point, Karen, but it's interesting to think about the Cruise unit having this sort of valuation, which may have been undervalued before, as reflected in the stock price pop in today's session, but also the EV part of it, because this happens, on a day where Rivian got funding, which puts it at a valuation of about $28 billion. So it's got these two, big, important, hot areas of the market that are potentially undervalued in the marketplace.
Yeah, really undervalued. And I think, there's a lot of confusion about the debt, but I think the total enterprise value is somewhere around $65 billion. And here's the thing about Cruise. I think it was almost 2 years ago that Dan Ammann, who is the head of Cruise, was incented to either IPO it or spin it off. And so if we were to see that, I think it would unlock a lot of value. Now, remember, this is Cruise. This is not their EV business. But I don't think they get enough value for Cruise, but they do get all of the losses, their share of losses. That works its way through the income statement. So they're getting penalized there. But I don't think they're getting the benefit of Cruise. And I think that, it's hard for people to say, oh, I can't buy it here because look where it was, 2-3 months ago. It never should have been where it was 2 or 3 months ago. So I'm long. I always say if you go home long, it's as if you bought it at this price. I'm still long. So, if I own none, I probably would start buying at this price, even though it's run up a lot.
Would you want, Tim, GM to spin out Cruise?
No, I don't think they need to. And certainly part of, I think what's going on here are the synergies of GM as a technology company and as an OEM and all of their capabilities across the board. But first of all, I've been adding to this position over the last month, and I've been long GM for 4 years, so a couple dead years and a couple exciting months on top of a decent year, but where the company was re-rating, in my view, based upon their ability to run profitably and get rid of unprofitable businesses. What's interesting to me is that the same analysts that are now really drooling over this EV business and BrightDrop, which is this business which is last mile delivery for people like FedEx and is going to have a major impact, I think, in their commercial use and the valuation of the company. The analysts that are now paying attention to this are the same ones that were upgrading Tesla a couple of years ago on the dynamics associated with autonomous and EV. And we haven't talked about the Ultium battery and so the hydrogen fuel cell. So I like the whole thing, and I like the stock here. If anything, I think it's going significantly higher.
Guy, we usually play this game called Would You Rather, so I'll pose that question to you.
One of my favorites.
I know, along with Wrap It or Scrap It. Anyway, GM or Ford? Ford, which, by the way, has a stake in Rivian.
That's a great we haven't played that Would You Rather in a while. I'll say GM, and I'm going to give kudos again to Tim and Karen, who've been steadfast in this. One of the things we've said now for a while is that if you just give, for example, just give a 10 multiple on the $6 that GM's going to earn, it's a $60 stock, and a 12 multiple, which is half of where the broader market is trading, you can do the math. It's a $72 stock, right? So, I mean, there's upside here for sure. And you mentioned the spinoffs quickly. The PSX spinoff didn't go particularly well, and I would imagine that eBay is not thrilled with PayPal, and you can say the same thing with McDonald's and Chipotle. So I think they should hold on to these assets, not spin them off. That's just one person's opinion.
It's like TV shows. The spinoff's never as good as the original. Dan Nathan, where do you stand on GM?
Wow.
Joni loves Chachi.
Exactly. I was thinking of that one.
Laverne and Shirley.
I'm with Guy. Yeah. I think Ford is the one here. It just broke this long-term downtrend. It's trading about $10 here. I think they are going to have two of the hottest EV cars, the Mustang Mach-E crossover SUV, and this new line of Broncos, with one of them, the Sport, being an EV. I think these are going to be massive, massive hits for Ford. So to me, you want re-rating, you talk about Rivian investment, you talk about their push into it. I think these are going to be really hot cars for Ford.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.